Jim, it is time that
Brian,
that dark time each and every week where we have to discuss 3 hours of well-lit whatever's going on that is called Monday Night Raw or WWE Raw. I don't even know what the exact name is anymore. They've destroyed my enthusiasm. I watched this show. And when you asked me the next morning if I watched the show, I told you I didn't because I couldn't remember anything important that had happened. And when I went and rewatched the show this morning, I realized I had seen the whole thing.
And had forgotten.
That's Raw.
Because it wasn't that memorable. As we said earlier in the show about SmackDown, let's talk about what didn't happen on Raw. This was Raw for April 24th, I guess, right? April 24th, 1977 was Jerry Jarrett's first live card in the Mid-South Coliseum when he broke off from Goulas and established his own company. That was the first time I saw wrestling in Memphis. The double main event, Southern Heavyweight title, Jerry Lawler versus Jack Briscoe, and NWA World Heavyweight title, Harley Race versus Rocky Johnson.
How excited were you?
Show.
How excited were you, and what were you most excited to see before it?
Well, I was over the moon because I'd seen Memphis on television, the Coliseum, for several years at that point, but had never actually been there. And then also, this was the big show. Teeny got us 4 front row tickets for me and my mom and these two friends of ours that drove down with us because it was 6 hours down there, the show 6 hours back. Because we had to get back for Louisville the next day. I was shooting pictures there too, but Dusty was on the cards. First time I saw Dusty live. As well, Hickerson and Condrey worked with Dusty and Tommy Rich for the Southern Tag Team title. And then they had people from Ron and Robert Fuller were in from Knoxville. And, it was a big show all around. But I've still got, the pictures I took that night. I was torn because I wanted to like Lawler and Briscoe the best, but Harley was so fucking good. And it was the best Rocky Johnson match I'd ever seen. Probably before or since, because it was for the world title. So everybody had their boots on. But what an event. And then
And then Harley got a perm.
Well, but you can't hold that against him. It was the style. But 46 years later, we got 3 hours of conversation, well-lit conversation. That's what we ought to call it. On Monday Night Raw.
In Chicago.
Of all places.
This
was the... This was not the United Center, right? This is the All-State Arena, which used to be the Rosemont Horizon, which was the wrestling building in Chicago for many, many years, as Joe Franklin would say.
One of my favorite arena names.
What, the All-State Arena?
The Rosemont Horizon.
Oh, okay.
What a cool name.
Well, it's because it's in Rosemont. It's not actually in Chicago.
But it's not the Rosemont Arena. It's the Rosemont Horizon.
Well, that's because across the horizon, you can see the pollution from downtown Chicago. Anyway, the Raw started out with our friend Cody Rhodes doing the in-ring promo, the big entrance. People love him. They're still chanting. They're still clapping. And he did a promo about Brock Lesnar, of course, put Brock over. But then... Again, he does shit differently than everybody else has been scripted to or has decided to do on their own. You can see more of the creativity, right, that he puts into this shit. I mean, it was an odd choice for them to have him show still frames on the big screen of Brock beating him up instead of some video.
And why didn't he talk over it? It was just still, let's go to this. And then it's just pictures.
Well, I have a feeling somebody may have delayed the information incorrectly because I think he might have thought he was going to get some fucking video also, but that was odd. But then he does it different. He starts taking off his tie and tosses it into the crowd and takes off his shirt and tosses it. He's getting pops for this. And he showed the crowd and the camera the scar from his surgery. and, mentioned that the Hell in a Cell match that he fought through that injury with was in this same arena. And then he tells Brock, pick a spot and put another scar on me. That's fucking Dusty. What a great line. And then he thanks the fans. He told them that they carried him to the finish line in the Hell in a Cell match, and he couldn't have done it without him, and he thanked them. What a fucking babyface. At this point, I actually wrote, what a fucking babyface. And then Finn Balor music interrupts, and but at least we get to see a competent wrestling match later on. But Finn comes out and people kind of whatted him on the way to the ring or whatever. But
Cody, hey Cody,
but he tries to get Cody to join the Judgment Day have somebody have his back, and Cody obviously does not do that and respectfully declines the offer. And he brought the fans into making the decision. I mean, this was perfect on his part. And then he declined, but offered Finn his hand, and Finn wouldn't shake. He says, you're with us or against us. So Cody says, well, you may be under the assumption I'm not medically cleared, but actually I'm medically cleared. So how about you and me fight tonight? And Finn gulped and left.
Were we told that he wasn't medically cleared?
Well, I think it was mentioned on another program last week, either SmackDown or whatever the fuck, that obviously he's been beaten up and banged up, but it's not like he's been out for months. He just got beat up, last week or 2 weeks ago, whatever the case. But they made a match. That was the reason for making the match. Well, since you came out here and offered me a spot in your group, how about we just fight tonight? But like I said, at least it's a match between two professionals. But I'd prefer Finn to be seen and not heard more. Well, your thoughts on the verbal execution of the elocution?
It was the best of Cody and also classic Cody in that at times it just went all over the place and you're waiting for it to get somewhere. But every Cody promo, I mean, last week he had the line about growing up around cowboys. This week had the line that you quoted before. He's got at least one memorable line where he looks really serious and you believe him every single week.
That's hard times, baby. Do you get a gold watch anymore? All right. Anyway, speaking of hard times, the times started getting harder from here to watch this program. The next segment, or the next thing, 6-man tag, the Usos and Solo versus Escobar, and the new LWO gimmick from 25 years ago that they have appropriated for the current, I guess it should be the loser world order, though, shouldn't it? Since they haven't won a match since, I don't remember when they won a match. Escobar, yes, but not his stooges. But again, it's the bloodline. At least they've mixed this up, but we're always seeing the bloodline wrestle the Usos and Solo. We've seen them on every program, and we're seeing Escobar and his gang on every program. They've just mixed this up a little bit, and instead of the LWO against fucking the Judgment Day and the bloodline, and they've just switched places. You see where I'm going with this? It doesn't matter anyway, because they went a minute and went to the break. And when they come back, they go under 3 minutes and the heels win. The Usos and Solo, obviously. And they cut a 30-second promo where they're very upset about losing the belts, and their rematch this Friday, they're dedicating the win to Roman Reigns. So now they put his name on it. Again, I said the Usos are protesting a little hard verbally these days. Anything you care to comment on, just jump in. I'm running through running order.
You've kind of hit on the main thing. You see the same people every single week that even if they're in a match you've never seen before, it feels like you've seen it every single week. I don't think I've ever seen the Usos wrestle the LWO. But I'm so sick of the LWO, who just all of a sudden appeared and became the LWO, and the Usos who just have to do something. And I guess, this Friday on SmackDown is the big match. Something has to happen there, but it's taken forever to get from A to B right now.
I'm not sure that they didn't skip B and they just went on to C or D or something like that because it was more convenient. Anyway, did you notice when Bianca was backstage and smiling and cutting her promo with the lady interviewer, that when Bailey and Kai and Sky walk in to have their scripted interaction, the interviewer just disappeared. She was holding a microphone for Bianca. And then suddenly when these other girls walk in, the camera pans over to them and the interviewer's gone and never seen again, took the microphone with her, but you can still hear Bianca. And then Jay and Sammy were in the back. Raw is conversation, after all. Jay and Sammy were in the back. Jay Uso and Sami Zayn talking openly with the camera 5 feet away from them like they were having a quiet moment together. And Sammy is saying, hey, you guys dedicated this win to Roman. Well, we're not going to lose these belts. And you put his name on it. That's not going to be good for you. And what's going to happen? You don't deserve what's going to happen. And again, is the story getting a little busy and bogged down in sidetracking now? It was clearly Sammy's our guy. We wish he'd turn on the bloodline. Sammy turns on the bloodline. Sammy and fucking Kevin win the tag belts. Cody would win the world title and everything would be wrapped up. And now we're getting confusing and or boring.
Too many of these segments where Sammy's talking to people he's not supposed to talk to backstage in front of the camera. The first time it happened, it worked. Second time, it's like, okay, this works again. But now they're doing it like all the time. Twice on this episode. But how many times have we seen the Usos or Heyman have like conversations with Sammy behind the scenes? It's getting to be too much.
I hope nobody tells the other people that aren't in these meetings that are televised what's going on. Trish was in the back talking to people. And then they had a match, and I thought, well, it's Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander. I would watch this versus the Street Sweepers, except the Street Sweepers got the big entrance. They went to a break. They came back. Shelton and Cedric were in the ring, which is death and doom. And Vince was always big on entrances. Now, he wasn't big on entrances that took 15 fucking minutes like they have now. That's changed. But if you didn't get an entrance, Vince, that was his way of saying you're completely dispensable. Bleh. And then Ford beat Cedric in 2 minutes. So thanks for coming, guys. 6 minutes of matches in the first hour.
When you say 2 minutes, you mean 2 minutes of actual wrestling or 2 minutes that we saw in between commercial breaks?
No, I mean 2 minutes. They came back from the break, they rang the bell, and 2 minutes later, the match was over and Ford had won.
All right.
So anyway, then it was the 9 o'clock hour and time for Triple H to muddy the championship picture as we described earlier in the program. If you didn't hear it, well, rewind. And then Judgment Day was in the back talking. Damian Priest, obviously happy that his good friend Bugs Bunny is going to be there tonight on the program that they've been talking. He's going to be here. He's going to be here. And then another Bronson. Did you watch this Bronson Reed package, Brian?
I don't know, actually. This is the same thing that happened last week. I have. I remember watching him in the match later on, but I don't remember the package.
Okay, when you're trying to zip through the commercials and or all the backstage bullshit, they slip one of these in on you every now and then, where it's some highlights of him for about 30 or 45 seconds, and the highlights make him look fantastic, but he's doing the promo interspersed with the promo and the voiceover clips and the material. Last week, his mother called him Mr. Nice Guy. And the promo and the voiceover that he's doing for these spots, as I said, the highlights make him look like a world beater. And the material and his delivery counteract all of that. He's soft-spoken and he's erudite.
Mr. Nice Guy.
But he's erudite. He didn't do Mr. Nice Guy this time, but he's not as sing-song as Keith Lee. And he doesn't use ridiculous big words, but it's obviously scripted material with I don't know what the fuck. And he's wearing a suit. This fucking guy, they need to grow his fucking shaggy hair out. They need to see if he can grow his goddamn underarm hair long. Make him a goddamn monster. He's a human wrecking ball. He's the most polite, well-dressed, fucking 400-pound beast on the planet. Anyway, then Solo and the Usos were in the back in their locker room, having a heart-to-heart talk with each other with a camera in front of them. And Jay is not listening. He's preoccupied. They talked to him a couple times. He didn't hear. What'd you say? What's wrong, Jay? Well, what if we don't win the belts on Friday? Now he's showing doubt. And Jimmy gets mad that Jay's been talking to Sammy. Don't be talking to him. But what if we don't win? What if Roman Reigns was there? I don't think they would be doing that in front of him. So they're doing it on television. But anyway, as you mentioned, it's just asking a lot of questions. I know questions. Ask questions. The fans will have questions in their mind. They'll want to know the answers, but not when they're completely confused about, you know what? This is degenerating into grade school. Speaking of grade school, almost everybody in the next match was the size of a grade schooler. Bianca and Liv and Raquel against Bailey and Kai and Sky. And we were an hour and 15 minutes into the program with 6 minutes of wrestling, and we got this. But don't worry, they went 2 minutes and went to the break. And when they came back, they went another 3 minutes, and the babyfaces won. So each girl and the sixth girl got 45 seconds, I believe, to... Austin Theory in the ring for a promo, plugging the triple threat match for the U.S. title between him and Lashley and Bronson Reed that we're going to have to put up with. Another three-way. And Theory, he's talking well. Looks like he's got more confidence. When the people got on him a little bit, he ad-libbed and buried him back and didn't lose his place. With Theory's promo, and he looked at the new belt that Triple H had unveiled and said he should be the new World Heavyweight Champion. And I wrote at that point, I said, I've been talked to death, but Theory's doing a good job, and he has heat from the people. He's having a little bit more fun, more relaxed out there. And then Lashley's music, and he interrupts. And this was...
the opposite of that Cena promo on Raw.
Yes, that.
Just tearing him down for no good reason. This was just completely building him up.
That's what I was going to say, is Bobby was better here than he has been when he's had some of these promos where it looked like he was confused to deliver them, or he could tell that it was falling flat, or when they teased the Bray Wyatt thing or whatever the fuck was going on. But here, yes, he did. He told Theory, that's my belt you're holding. But then he put him over. But he said that Theory was running away from everything, but you're young, you're hungry, and you're tough. You got all that, so why are you running away? Are you lazy or are you scared? And that was at least something to make the guy a heel, but a competent heel rather than a complete dipshit, right?
But what's he running away from?
But, well, he rolls out of the ring quite a bit. But then Lashley said he's the one that asked for the triple threat because he wants to fight and blah, blah, blah. It took a while and nobody seemed to be really mad. They're just doing the the verbiage back and forth. And then finally, Theory says, he starts to back off. Okay. And then he goes for the sucker punch, but Bobby ducks it and tackles him. And they have the fight on the floor, whatever. And then Reed comes in and joins Theory in beating up Lashley. And then after Theory gives Lashley his finish, then Reed gloms him and gives him the splash off the top rope. So they're setting up the three-way.
Splash looked good.
The splash always looks good. I wouldn't want to be the one laying underneath it. But again, it's better than it has been with Bobby. We like Theory, and Reed is a beast in the ring. But I don't know why they've got him talking like a goddamn accountant. Anyway. Did you see the segment with Booger, Ezekiel, and Shoosh Boy segueing into comedy with Fat Otis, the Model Girl, and Model Man?
Otis, and yet Model Girl may be, out of everyone on this show, she may be the very, how do I put it, the most performy, the most completely ridiculously fake.
The worst actor
yes.
or actress.
There you go. But yeah, this was horrible. I saw this.
And then Shoosh Boy wrestled Muhammad Ali. And that match
Mustafa
lasted...
Ali.
Whatever.
Well, one was one was the greatest, actually. And the other is Mustafa Ali.
Well, there you go. And Mustafa, he won this match in 2 minutes. And we were at 13 minutes of actual wrestling action in an hour and 52 minutes of the wrestling program.
I know both guys are good, but I skipped through this match because it was so long into the show. I was already running on fast forward, having a good time, looking for good stuff. Yeah. I don't need to see these two. With that said, I'm surprised to hear who won because I didn't expect to hear that. But at this point, this late in the show, who wants to see this match?
Well, the thing about Shoosh Boy is it takes a good man to beat him, but it don't take him long. And then Jimmy Uso stormed up to, or what they call it, rolled up to, pulled up to, cruised up to Sami Zayn in the back and said, What are you talking to my brother about for? What the fuck is Kevin Owens going to do to you when you guys lose? He's going to turn on you.
If it's that easy to find Sami Zayn, why didn't he just roll up on him with Solo and kick the shit out of him?
Kick the shit out of him. Instead, and also, I think we probably established that Owens is the baby face and he's not going to turn on Sammy, even if they lose, because it's going to be the other guys that fuck him anyway if they lose. So, but now he's putting, and then Sammy's like, ooh, he looks off thinking. They're getting too complicated. 10 o'clock hour, Cody Rhodes versus Finn Balor. Suddenly, an island of pro wrestling in a sea of conversation and dramatic readings of scripted verbiage. And the in-ring quality of the performance on the program went up dramatically. It was, high quality professional wrestling, attention to the details, the little things. These guys are better than most everybody on the roster. But it doesn't matter because they went to break this time in 4 minutes. But goddamn, the closest thing we've had to a decent match. And we just show us the goddamn match. But Cody missed a crossbody, hit the rope, stopped himself for heat. Babyface thing to do. He didn't just let the fucking heel just cut him off eye to eye. And they went to the break and they come back. And as soon as they come back, Cody's fighting back, makes a comeback. Hits a disaster kick, gets 2 count. They go back and forth. Cody tries the Cody cutter, but Finn foils it and gets some more heat. And then Cody comes back and hits a Cody cutter, gets a 2 count. More back and forth, and finally Cody hits the pedigree and a crossroads in 1, 2, 3. And it was a good match. And it got 8 minutes on the air, 4 minutes before the break and 4 minutes afterwards. And again, It was the right thing to do. Cody wins with his finish, but it took him a while to get there, and he teased it. So I guess 8 minutes for a, competitive match against main eventers is the least we can hope for, but they gave it to us. Your thoughts?
It's almost like AEW right now. The Cody segments are apart from everything else happening on the show. Good matches, good promos, not always making the most sense. This is an alright match. I mean, I was already bored with this show so badly by this point. It was an alright match.
And then Seth Rollins, our friend Franklin, did an in-ring promo. And I wrote, there's less talking on C-SPAN. And he's trying to sell us this fucking white elephant of a new world heavyweight title belt, and goes over to the belt and says, some of us still want to fight. This is an opportunity to have a world heavyweight title. It's more about more than politics and part-timers. And that's where they're fucking up the whole reason they kept Roman Reigns undefeated, as we mentioned at length when we discussed Triple H's promo. But it's inexplicable. They're trying to shove this thing down people's throats like it's some kind of good idea, and that it would be valid if you sit back and the people who want to see this are the people who want to see another pretty belt. And otherwise, it makes no sense whatsoever. The reason for it or doing it in general. And then almost music plays, and here comes him and MVP, because we're going to be seeing Seth Franklin Rollins versus Almost upcoming at the big premium live gourmet restaurant quality limited edition event that they've got coming up. And I said, oh, fuck, I'm done, and skipped this. Did I miss anything?
MVP did a good promo. You got to see
a good promo about a bad match.
You got to see Franklin in his nanny outfit standing face to face or face to belly button with Almost, and that was kind of cool to see. I'm intrigued by every time Almost has a match, I'm intrigued by what it'll be. I said the same thing about Brock. I can't wait to see him in Franklin. I think it'll be all right.
All righty. Well, now back to the bloodline and assorted babyfaces saga. Now Riddle and Owens and Sammy were in the back. And Riddle is driving Owens crazy by talking to him. And I can identify with that. I can imagine what that would be like. And Sammy comes in, and Owens, where have you been all night? I was talking to the Usos. And Kevin's like, why were you, and again, all night pointing at Riddle, like Riddle's been talking to me all fucking night. Why are you talking to them? Why do you care? They deserve whatever happens. Who gives a shit? And he walks off. And then Riddle tells Sammy that no matter what, don't worry, because Sammy and Kevin are bros, and they're always going to be bros, bro. That may be another reason I don't like this guy. And
he referenced Randy Orton. He referenced his old friend who's not there anymore.
Yes.
Which perfectly sets up Orton turning on him when he comes back.
Well, either that or maybe could Orton take Riddle under his wing and have Orton and Riddle against Sammy and Kevin? Maybe Riddle would be more tolerable as a heel that you were supposed to dislike rather than as a dipshit that you do dislike.
How about Orton comes back, wins the belt, and then Cody has to decide who he wants to go after because him and Orton have history.
Ah. Or we could have a triple threat. All right.
No.
All right. Well, we are at the main event. Time for the main event, which is Rey Mysterio against Damian Priest. And by the time we have set through the first 2 hours and 45 minutes of this program, featuring 13 minutes of mostly bleh wrestling, and 8 minutes of Cody Rhodes and Finn Balor, 21 minutes total in 2 hours and 45 minutes. We get this match, which starts and they go 1 minute, and then on the screen they show a limousine pulling into the back of the arena and Bugs Bunny gets out of it. It's literally fucking 10:46 p.m. They promoted Bugs Bunny was going to be at Raw. Did he get stuck in traffic? He arrives at the building with 14 minutes left. So this is why they rely on this shit even when it doesn't make sense, because it was cool when we did it with Steve Austin 25 years ago. So let's do it all the fucking time. Anyway, so they went another minute in the match, and then they went to the break. So again, the main event, they go a minute. They cut away to the parking lot to see a fucking car pull up. They come back and go a minute. They go to the break. They come back. We got 9 minutes left on the air. We've seen 2 minutes of this match. And again, Priest he's improving, and we've always been a fan of his and his look, his voice, blah, blah, blah. And Ray is a pro. But it's a match that kind of looks like all the other matches they have, because they want all their matches to look alike, and they don't get much time to develop. And then they go back and forth, get a couple of 2 counts, and then Priest leaves the ring and gets a chair, but Ray stops him, hits the 619, and goes to the top. And while he's on the top, Priest grabs the chair that he dropped and just pitched it and beamed Ray on the head with it. Bam! Disqualification. Again, a DQ. Okay. And then Priest choke slams him and clears off the desk. But remember, Bugs is here. Apparently, it takes approximately 8 to 9 minutes to get from the parking garage through the backstage area into the ring, and he had to wait for his music. Because as soon as Priest clears off the desk, the music plays, and here comes Bugs with a kendo stick. Now, Brian, help me. I know he's armed with a weapon, but did you see the same thing that I saw? Did you see a musician, even a globally recognized musician, but a musician who walks out face to face, takes a kendo stick and wails on a 6'6", 250-pound pro wrestler who gets no fucking offense whatsoever and just beats him up and runs him off? Is that what you saw?
Yeah, pretty much.
And then he says, and by the way, I'm not going to host the pay-per-view or the big event, Backlash. It's going to be you and me in a street fight match. How about Elton John versus Wild Bull Curry on the undercard? Yeah, if Bugs
I'd
Bunny
pay to see that.
I would too. If Bugs is willing to take bumps and willing to be physically a part of things, and even if he's dedicated and wants to do a good job, have a tag team match, have a handicap match, you can't just, it's okay, this guy's a musician. He's never wrestled before, but by God, he's going to have a street fight with Damian fucking Priest, the largest member of the Judgment Day, who's been a pro wrestler for, even in the WWE canon universe, years. What? Mick Jagger versus Moondog Mayne.
It may have worked if Mick Jagger could do a moonsault. Or a tope.
Well, don't say anything about Mick's toupee. He's very touchy. Man's almost 80. He can lose his hair.
Well, that was Raw.
Certainly was.
Written by someone almost 80.
I was chafed afterwards.